So we don't want to just give you a lot of fear, then roll the credits and off you go. This is a prepping channel. It's about being prepared. What's up, preppers? Welcome back to another video. We're here to discuss the current and ongoing terror threats to us here in the UK and also to our friends overseas in the USA. Mainly, we're obviously going to be concentrating on the UK with it being a UK channel. However, this is relevant to a lot of people all around the world. So, the threat in the UK. We have a terrorist alert level in the UK. Currently, this is set to substantial. Substantial means an attack is likely. Now that sounds pretty severe, but just to put this in perspective for you, that's smack bang in the middle. Before that, you've got low, moderate, substantial, severe, critical. I think it is a bit ambitious on the government's part. I do think we are closer to severe personally, but just so you know, the UK official threat level is currently set to substantial. The reason we are discussing this at the moment is because currently Iran, or the IRGC, which is Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, are pretty much getting backed into a corner. There's currently up to the 5th stage of nuclear negotiations that's coming up. That's on Friday. But they've turned around and basically said no enrichment, no deal. And that's non-negotiable from Iran. The IRGC has threatened Trump, saying don't test Iran's power, and they will hold US responsible for any Israeli attacks. And they called him shameless and ignorant of Iran's revolutionary history. So, lots of big words, but nothing we haven't heard before coming from Iran. They're usually good with the threats and the counter threats and things like that. But it's definitely breaking down these talks, because they've turned around and basically said that, I'll show you the tweet actually on Twitter, on X. And this is one of the officials who said, set to travel to Rome for the 5th round of indirect talks with the United States. Figuring out the path to a deal is not rocket science. 0 nuclear weapons, and we do have a deal. 0 enrichment, and we do not have a deal. Time to decide. So, I mean, that sounds reasonable, that they won't have the weapons, but there's a trust issue there. So, obviously, that's always going to be a problem. An Iran official has also said that the talks will lead nowhere if enrichment must drop to 0. Israel have allegedly threatened Iran's nuclear facilities, but Iran said this will be met with devastating consequences. We can see in this article here, in the past 46 years since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, have conveyed the clear message that overthrowing the Islamic Republic is not possible. And that unrest occurred during the past several years also carried the same message, that the Islamic Republic cannot be brought down. Very strong, bold words from the IRGC. And an Iran spokesman has been quoted in saying there will be no peace in the Middle East until Israel is wiped out. So apparently US intel detected Israeli communications had indicated that an imminent strike was reported by CNN. And we can see here the IRGC's warning directly to Trump: the armed forces will respond with strength and authority to any threat or wrongful action that targets the sacred goals and values of the Islamic Revolution. Now, how does that reflect over to us here in the UK? Well, the Supreme Leader has referred to sleeper cells in the UK and the US and referred to them as the future martyrs of the movement. And he has also said, the time is coming, prepare. We can see here there was an interview with an official from the IRGC, and I'm just going to put the screens up rather than the video. And this is the direct translation. Countries like the US, England, and the Zionist regime should be aware that attacks will not always be carried out by the means of missile or aircraft. What if they are attacked from within? So there you go. This is where we start thinking about sleeper cells and stuff like that. Now, if you do a little search and say how many sleeper cells are in the UK, there's no figures. So you've got to go back a bit to get some proper figures, and there's a few little things for current times as well. So in 2018, a statement by MI5 indicated they had 23,000 individuals on their radar with suspected links to extreme ideologies, with around 3,000 under active investigation at any one time. 23,000 individuals, but only 3,000 actually being investigated at any one time. Now, I know this 23,000 is not all from the same sort of walk of life. They could be far right, far left. They could be different countries and things like that. This is all anyone with any sort of extremist ideologies. As of late 2024, MI5 and counter-terrorism policing are jointly managing over 800 live investigations involving thousands of suspects of interest, suspected of involvement in terrorism-related activities. Furthermore, the number of state-based threat investigations, including those related to Russia, Iran and China, has risen by 48% in the past year. So this all boils down to one thing. If they can't have any sort of direct conflict with the West, because, I mean, for all their bluster and shouting, they're never going to match up to the NATO war machine or the US war machine. This is their route. This is their plan of attack. They've actually said, the Supreme Leader himself has said that that's what they're going to be doing. We know that they've already got contracts in place with people's families. So if something happens to them, boom, boom, then their family is compensated. So these things are already in place. How many? Where? We don't know. This is the issue. So what can we do about it, right? So we don't want to just give you a lot of fear, then roll the credits and off you go. This is a prepping channel. It's about being prepared. So we're talking, of course, about situational awareness in these situations. The number one thing, of course, is situational awareness and knowing what to look for. So I'm just going to rattle off the key points, what to look for, and this can be found as advice on many different channels, many different articles around the internet. You can find this information readily available. But the things to look for is unusual interest in security measures, somebody showing a lot of interest in cameras and what's going on and things like that. Loitering or surveillance behaviour. Suspicious packages or unattended bags. We've all heard them announcements on platforms and on the train stations. Do not approach them. People taking photos or video in sensitive locations. So things like power stations, things like that. Things that wouldn't be usually, you know, a touristy thing. So, I mean, it's a difficult one, I know, because the social media is flooded with these people have drones and fly them over random sites because that's what their channel's all about. No, your channel has only got as many views as it has because you argue with random security staff about your rights to fly the drone over. It's nothing to do with, oh, look, that's a lovely site and how that's laid out. Full of crap. So, obviously, them guys aside, you've got to think about things like that as well. Strange purchases, chemicals, large batteries, wiring, pressure cookers, bulk SIM cards, things like that. There's all sorts of things that could trigger suspicious thoughts. Radical changes in behaviour, of course, speeches and beliefs of people you know who have suddenly changed all their belief system and changed how they are. People purposely avoiding CCTV and security, so you can tell if somebody's really trying to obfuscate themselves with stuff like that. This is probably more extreme, but testing security reactions, triggering fire alarms, seeing what response times are, things like that. All these things and many more, just things you should be aware of. but what should you do if you notice them? In the UK, we have an anti-terrorism hotline, and that is 0800 789 321, where you can report things. Obviously, for emergencies is 999 in this country, 911, our friends in the United States. But you can also report it online at the Counter-Terrorism Policing website. Just have a Google search and you'll find that. And don't worry about being wrong. It's better if you've noticed these things and it is genuinely suspicious to you, it's better to report it and it be nothing than not report it and it be something, right? As individuals, of course, and as preppers, we should always stay informed and stay prepared ourselves. So keeping an eye out for local alerts, police activity in the local area, knowing your own surroundings, not just in your home or your bug-in location, but when you're out and about. If you're going to a shopping centre, knowing where the exits are, things like that. General situational awareness. And be careful of misinformation and conspiracy theories that can cloud real threats. If you're that hung up on the Jet 2 plane that you think is making clouds and you're looking up at these lines, you're not looking at what's right in front of you. How to respond to a threat. Now, all I can give you is the UK government guidance, which is pretty okay. It's run, hide, tell. Very, very simple. Run, escape if it's safe to do so. Hide, find cover, silence your phone, stay out the way. And tell, of course, is dialing that emergency services. Now, it's all obviously going to be depend on the situation at the time. This is very general guidance, and you have to use your own judgment and assessment at the time. If there's only a lamppost between you and immediate danger, don't try and hide behind said lamppost. I mean, I might have been able to do that at one point, but not anymore. So read the area, read the situation you're in, but that is the general guidance, of course. And we know in case of a suspicious package, don't touch it, don't mess with it, just report it. And if it's any sort of terrorist attack going on and you're indoors or you're able to, then move away, find cover, lock doors, turn off lights and stay silent. Just, you could even a wedge under the door, anything like that. Anything you can do, just make sure you immediately are safe yourself. Now think of the airplane, the advice on an airplane. If it loses cabin pressure, you have to secure your own oxygen mask before you assist somebody else. Same in any situation like that, make sure you are sorted first and help others if you can later on. Of course, this vigilance is not just when you decided to go shopping once a month, but it's all the time, and it's even online. You can see these things online, you can see the things we've talked about, that suspicious activity online, people you know, groups you're part of. Make sure if it's something that you genuinely think is suspicious, then report it. Now, I don't ever want to tell anyone not to live their life, not to enjoy themselves, not to go to that festival, not to go to that concert that's booked. But as a prepper, for me personally, because of how real the threats are at the moment in things like that, I will kind of be avoiding things like that, large gatherings and all sorts of things like that. And it's not just based on the current Iran threats that's going on. There's terrorist threats from all sorts of different organizations as well. So it's not necessarily all, potentially the same target. If it is Iran, that it's their sleeper cells, you've got to think of what their potential targets might be. Dissidents or exiled Iranians, Israeli or Jewish interests in other countries. Officials that are critical of Iran, that have been publicly critical of Iran. And of course, cyber targets and attacking our general infrastructure. So nobody wants to put fear out there, and more so than anyone else, our government doesn't want to put fear out there. I genuinely think, if we go back to the start, that substantial threat level is way too low. It's been substantial for a long time, and it floats around there. I genuinely think with direct threats spoken by officials about the UK, the US? Why is that alert level not further up? In my mind, it's already gone up. In your mind, it should do the same. Be very aware, be very vigilant, stay tuned to the channel, and above all else, stay safe. Thanks guys, see you in another video soon. Goodbye.